monitoring the animal. We have to do this every day, twice a day, or 4 times a day. Constantly monitoring the field on the left flank is important. Body condition, dung quality, pre and post grazing mass, monitoring by observing animals, grass, and dung. We need to see where they are living, how the grass is, where they're going in, how it is, and how it's growing back there. Monitoring the dung, as previously explained in the pictures, will allow us to know if protein is deficient, so we can start supplementing protein and avoid a wreck. Yes?
The bottom 2/3 isn't as good, and that can mess up the rumen and make them running?
That's true on a green spring growth. Only on green spring growth.
Scalp.
Yes. But on the rest of the year, that doesn't happen. So we have to be conscious that the principles are universal, but the application depends on the time of the year and the environment. At the top third, we'll always have more protein than the bottom third, not less. But it will have less nitrates in proportion to real protein than the bottom third. If you take 100 samples of grass and you divide it in thirds, you will see that it's true. I've done it. This is the good field on the left flank. From the last rib, which is here, to the hip bone, we draw a triangle. You can see it there? That needs to be full. Like this cow is showing an excellent body condition. Next one. Protein supplementation is used only to enhance fiber digestion. That's why we call it minimal supplementation. In high fiber forages like winter stockpile for you, that are low in protein at the end of the winter, when it's been weathered by ice and thawing and ice, it's essential that the total protein on a dry matter basis is increased to a minimum of 7 to 8% by offering a protein supplement. Flaxseed meal, it will require from 1.5 to 2 pounds per cow per day. Maybe here that will be too much. In Florida, that's what we need. Once we do this, total intake is increased to where animals increase their body condition or improve their body condition instead of losing it. So another way of explaining it is when the manure gets bigger and the cows get smaller. Now, effective supplementation. Sometimes we go out and buy some range cubes, and sometimes they have corn or DDG, dry distillers grain, in it. Starches that are containing corn and milo and sorghum and wheat and all of that create an unfavorable environment for the microorganisms that digest the fiber. Why? Because the excretions of the microorganisms that digest starches is lactic acid. And lactic acid, being acid, inhibits the development of the microorganisms that digest fiber, inhibits them. So we need to supplement available forage and not substitute for it. When we feed corn, we are substituting the forage. We want the cow to eat more of what we produce, not less. So by feeding a little protein, they will eat more of the fiber that we produce, not less. That's our objective. A protein content in the total intake of 7 to 8% is sufficient for a summer calving cow or late spring calving cow to maintain her body condition with her calf on the side throughout the winter. That's all we need. Because after calving and reconception, the needs of the cow drop to half. The calf only needs a little milk, 2 pounds per day. That's all the calf needs to supplement the protein in the rumen to the calf, and the cow can do that with a 7 to 8% protein. If we have our cows calving in the fall, they will require a 12% protein to do that. That's why it's not convenient to have them calving in the fall or in the winter, because then we need to feed, instead of 2 pounds of flaxseed meal, we need 6 pounds of flaxseed meal, and the costs go up. We don't want to ever feed hay But if you have ice so thick that they cannot dig through the snow, you need to have some hay for those days. I would recommend in Rocco at least 3 weeks to a month of hay, have it there ready, because when you need it, it's overnight. And if you don't have it, it's going to be very expensive. Everybody will need it. So buy it now that it's cheap and store it. If you don't use it this year, you keep it for next year. This supplementation is normally 1/3 of the cost of feeding hay on a cow per day basis. So it's a way to save from $100 to $200 per cow per year. By doing all this, not only do we improve the pasture better, but we save a lot of money. Here we are feeding a big herd of 2,000 cows in Chihuahua, a whole cottonseed under the poly wire. So we put a shovel of that in piles for the cows to eat it. Next one. Cows that are supplemented, even in a very low rainfall area, they are fat. But look at the hip height in this cow compared to this cow. She's in much better body condition because she can intake more because of a thing called metabolic weight. Her metabolism is more efficient. The shorter the cow, the more efficient the metabolism, and it has to do with metabolic weight. If we see the two mammals in the earth, the bigger one, the elephant, and the smaller one, a mouse, which will eat more dry matter per day? The elephant or the mouse? The mouse. The elephant. But relative to its size, which will eat more? The mice or the elephant? The mouse. Which will have a higher reproductive rate? The mouse or the elephant? The same happens with cows. In a herd, you will have a big cow, a shorter cow, and which cows will have a better body condition? The tall cow or the shorter cow? And if our herd weighs on the average 1,000 pounds, that means we're going to have some cows that weigh 1,400 and some cows that weigh 800. So that's a subject for another class, but it's very important because we select our bulls for creating the new females from the taller cows because we base our selection on winning weight or yearling weight, which will weigh more, the son of a short cow or the son of a tall cow. Just think about it. It's very important. Next one, please. Here are the high-density grazing on frosted tropical grasses. Very low protein, but we have good body condition by correct supplementation and moving them 4 times a day. Next one. This is the result. See the manure, how well distributed it is? That herd that you saw there is adding 5 tons per day of manure and 3 tons per day of urine. If you do it in a small enough area, it's concentrated, so it will create a big impact. But if they were spread out, it wouldn't be efficient. So it's very important to increase fertility. Next one. This is some frosted Bermuda grass. When we started, it was this poor, but that's what we had, so we supplemented so they could maintain their body condition. Next one. This is a very low octane grass. We classify forages as high octane, what you have here, or low octane, what we have in the tropics or subtropics. Next one. In the winter, anything that is green, they will take down. Next one. We use portable feed troughs made from half barrels, plastic barrels of 55 gallons. We cut them lengthwise, and we bolt them together, and we put them with the ATV in trains. Next, please. These are the feed troughs. See how little supplement is there? Because one of these is enough for 3 animals. So we bolt them together with a piece of plywood so they don't break. They last more than 15 years, and they're very cheap. Next. And here are the cows lined up, eating with their calves. And on this side of the picture is another train. Next one. Body condition on very low quality forage that was 2 years old. In Florida, that's very bad. It's like cardboard. But even with a big calf, this cow still has decent body condition in the late winter. Next one. These are heifers at 10 months old that we're weaning them. Next. The degree of control you can have with a single wire is very important. This is at about 2,000 head in a herd, and we just control them with one wire. Now instead of going through 60,000 acres to see the cows, you go to 1 acre. There, all the cows are there. And this is the residue that we'll have leaving behind. Next. We use the cafeteria-style mineral feeder. This is in Nebraska and the sandhills of Nebraska. Any question about the grazing or the stockpile? Because we're going to finish and then we're going to go out to take a walk and show in the field. No, any question?
With what you're talking about as far as the cycle of growth and overseeding and such and ultra-high density grazing, you're really minimizing the need for ever going into mow. But in your opinion, is there ever a place for mowing in this system?
Yes.
When is that?
You have enough animals to take it down and you start to graze selectively. If you don't mow it after the animals and you don't have more than 3 days to do it, to not get the regrowth, then you will end up with a sward that is mostly stems and little leaf. That's one. Another is when you have a toxic plant that the cows won't eat. If you don't mow it, they will overtake the pasture. Yeah. Those will be the only two. Mowing takes fossil fuel to run the tractor. I will try to do it as efficiently as possible to not have to do it every year. So what I'm doing in Florida, we have a duck fennel, which is toxic, so the cows don't eat it. What I am doing in the area that I graze, I always graze non-selective, but the area that I graze through the growing season, I mow behind the cows. I've done it 3 times this growing season, and it's mostly taken care of. I weaken the roots so much that they're not growing fast anymore. We just do that and hope it will work. But if I only mow it once, I tried that before, it doesn't work. It will depend. Yes?
Still not getting the concept on grazing it all the way into the ground.
Okay. Not into the ground. As you saw, please go back. See, this is not into the ground, this is manure. There is a lot of residue there. So it's more like, in this case, 2 to 4 inches. Other cases, it will be 1 inch. Other, it will be 6 inches. Like where the grass was so old and hard. Remember that picture at first? That was more like this. That's all we could take down.
And it'll still regrow. I mean, I'm saying that, but I guess recently did it because I didn't, 3 kids, I didn't get out there and move my cows like I do every day.
Oh.
So I got out the next morning and they had ate it way too low. And I was like, oh crap, that's not going good. But in 4 days, we got a little bit of rain and it just, so I'm probably answering my own question.
Good, that's very good.
I guess it's just against what I've always been, take calf, leave
but don't take it down by leaving them too long because the animal performance will suffer, as we explained. It's better to take it down by moving them frequently in shorter, smaller breaks. Then the animal will not suffer and you will get that nice regrowth that you saw.
And it would allow me to overseed drill, because that was my other thing this fall. How am I going to drill something in the fescue that keeps growing? I'm never going to get it to germinate, but grazing that low, I did that this summer with a mixture like you have.
Yeah,
I had to clip it after I grazed it twice, and then it actually came up pretty well from drilling.
Yeah, but the fescue is best overseeded after grazing it down and when you're going to allow it to grow through the whole growing season without grazing. In that area is where I would suggest you overseed fescue, not in where you're going to come back to keep it short and leafy. So we're going to go out and see it. What we have here is fescue. So we can, yes?
You said something about, you made a statement there that you had some calves that you were weaning. How long do you leave them with the mother before you wean? And do you separate them into separate feeds?
Yes, I do separate them because if not, they will steal the colostrum from the new brother. And the bull calves, I wean them at 8 months of age because if not, they will breed their their dams. And the heifers, I allow them to grow till 9 months of age because they become a better replacement the longer they are with the cow. Mineral supplementation is very important. Minerals are only 3% of what the cow intakes, but they're very important. As you know, calcium and phosphorus need to be in a correct ratio to be available. Phosphorus is part of adenosine triphosphate, ATP, which is the fuel for the cell. So if you have too much calcium, phosphorus will not be absorbed. And if phosphorus is not absorbed and there is not enough ATP, the cow will not cycle. You can make a cow not cycle by force-feeding her a lot of calcium. And she will not cycle. So that's only one mineral. And every mineral has a different ratio that needs to be considered. So the best way I have used is with free choice minerals, buffet style, where we allow them 20 choices and they can select whatever they need.
How often do you make that available?
Every day,
So
100.
you're pulling that apparatus that has 20 containers in it every 2 hours?
No. I put it by the water. The water is moved every third day.
So how are they, if you're moving them, how are they getting to the water?
They walk. They have 4 feet.
I guess
He's not taking up his back fence. He's leaving that.
Oh yeah. I only close the back fence every 4 days. That's when they can catch the regrowth. Remember, they take everything down. So the regrowth will be tall enough for them to rebite it after 4 days in the growing season. In the winter, it doesn't regrow, so I can leave it open.
I see. So the water's back there.
Yes, please go back a few. There, see the cows? There?
Yeah.
The water is over here.
Okay.
But they can walk because they are here, leaving the manure there, and then they go in small groups of 2 or 3 cows to drink water.
Okay.
I don't
and
have
they'll
to-
go back to where the grass is.
Yes, and the mineral is with the water.
Okay.
Yes.
Are you using advanced biological concepts mineral effect?
No, I am using the Free Choice Enterprises Mineral Buffet. Why? Because it works and it's half the price. But the other works too. I have seen it on a ranch and it works too. Yes. You can allow them to go back for 4 days without any problem.
On your mineral feeder, how do you keep water out of it?
Oh, yeah. See this? There is a mineral conveyor belt piece on the top, and it's bolted. So the cows push the flap up, and they eat it, and then when they get out, the flap comes down, so the water doesn't go in. Yeah.
Did you make that or buy it?
We bought them, but they make the cover too short, so it stays up, and if it rains sideways, the water goes in. So it would be better to make your own a little, just 2 inches more will make all the difference. The cover. Okay. Individual animals can adjust different mixes of minerals to their needs in function of their production, reproduction stage, health, water in use, and soil mineral status. Did you know that a red animal requires 4 times more copper than a black animal?
Really?
I thought it was the other way around.
Well, whatever. If it's the other way around, it's the same. 4 times different. I think it's the red one. But if they're drinking water that is high in calcium sulfate, like in my ranch in Mexico, just by drinking water, they have all the calcium they need. In Florida, we have a calcium sulfate and iron in the water. Just by drinking water, they have so much iron that copper is unavailable. When copper is unavailable, a black animal will get a brownish color in the top, and it won't be shiny, the coat. When phosphorus is not available due to an excess of calcium, the coat will be dull instead of shiny. When iodine is not available, maybe due to too much protein in relation to energy, that causes the pH of the system to go up, then we're going to have food rot, or we're going to have dry birds. That's a lack of iodine. So we need to observe, and And the best way is to monitor the blood of the animal, send it to the lab to make sure that the levels of the trace elements like manganese, like zinc, selenium, copper, cobalt, boron are correct. If they're not, then we need to adjust the program. Just as we monitor the animal and the manure, we need to monitor the blood of the animal. Yes.
So you take some random blood samples periodically? How often do you do that?
Like twice a year, or every time I see a problem. See, I'm observing the animals twice or 4 times a day, so I can see. Yes.
Are you just taking blood samples from problem animals or
No.
across the herd?
Just across the herd, like 10 or 15 animals and a herd that is 600 animals, twice a year.
How have you seen things go with your mineral?
Yeah. I learned, that's why we monitor. It's so important to monitor. Monitor your pasture, put a square yard, and then count the number of plants. That's plant density. Monitor the animal, as we're saying. And what I saw, we started to see the brownish on top of the cow. Why, if we're giving free choice minerals? Because the trace elements were in mixes, Ta, Tb, Tc. And because they were in mixes, they all contained some iron. The cow didn't want more iron because by drinking water, she had too much iron. So they wouldn't consume it. So I could think, oh, everything is okay. They're not eating it. No. So I took blood samples, sent it, came back that they were deficient in copper. So I tasted a penny. It tastes awful. So that's why they don't eat the copper. So I mix the copper with the salt. 1 part of copper sulfate at 2% to 2 parts of white salt, and then they ate it, and that the blood samples went up, and they were shiny as you saw in the picture. And they never eat the iron that we provide free choice. They never eat the calcium, and they never eat the sulfur. This is after 3 years. Then they won't ever eat it. So there may be other minerals that they don't like. So I need to find out. That's why it's so important to monitor. Just don't take my word for it. Just check. Yeah. Depending on the mineral levels in the soil and water, it can be the most efficient way to remineralize the soil or fertilize the soil. Because the cow will only keep around 15 to 20% of the mineral, and the rest will go out in the dung. And if the dung is distributed as it should, we're going to remineralize the soil, and that's why the first year they consume a lot of minerals, next year less, and third year less, till it's very cheap mineral program, very cheap. First year is very expensive, but then as time goes, it goes down. That's my experience. Then supplementing with the compost increases the mineral availability of the forage. Why? Because it's a rumen enhancer, so they can digest more of the fiber. So the mineral that is in the forage, instead of going out in the dung, is being assimilated into the body. The same happens when we spray the compost extract or compost tea. The minerals are more available and they stop eating minerals from the box. That should be our ultimate goal, that they have so much available mineral in the forest that they don't need anything from the box. Next one. Low stress cattle management is essential. We have the cattle so tame that they come to you. And that helps so much when you move a big group of animals. Next, please. Here I'm calling the cow. They finished this strict graze all the way down, and now I have to move them to a new field. And we have drainage ditches where we have alligators. And if the calf falls there, they can be eaten. So we have to do it low stress. Next one. Next. Next. This is the ditch, so we want them to walk calmly. Next. And these are yearlings, my Shona yearlings, that I go and make friends with them when they are at that age. And they are very smart, they don't forget. Next. And that's it. These are the weaned newborn, 4 months old. Next. And this is my Facebook page, my email address, and my WhatsApp if you ever need anything. Thank you very much. Now we're going to go to the field and see it firsthand.